In tonight's primetime focus, let's talk about how Donald Trump says he loves the troops.
Today, to every veteran, we love our veterans. We say the words too often left unsaid. Thank you for your service.
He has a strange way of showing that gratitude. There are about 40,000 troops fighting Trump's war with Iran right now. At some point, they will become veterans of the Iran war and will return home to programs that their president has gutted. 28,000 staffers at the VA were cut, which is the largest one-year decline in the agency's history. 1,000 physicians lost, 3,000 nurses, and because of that, more than 1 million veterans lost their VA provider. But remember, Trump loves those troops.
My administration will spare no effort or resource to support the men and the women who defend our nation.
It's not just about their health care. It's also about their jobs. When men and women exit the service, many go on to work for the federal government. In fact, in recent years, vets have made up about a third of the federal workforce. So when Elon Musk wielded his chainsaw, about 62,000 veterans got pushed out of their jobs. Right now, we have the lowest number of federal employees who are veterans in over 15 years. One veteran named Jeremy told Politico that his translation business went under after losing more than a dozen federal contracts. He and his wife have started walking dogs to pay the bills. But it's okay, because Trump loves the troops.
My administration is marshaling every resource to stop the crisis of veteran suicide and protect our nation's most treasured heroes. They've been through so much, and it's such a deep-seated problem.
Suicide is the second leading cause of death for veterans under age 45. On average, nearly 18 veterans die by suicide every day. And to do something about that, Congress created the Veterans Crisis Line in 2007. It has fielded nearly 10 million calls and made more than 400,000 dispatches to emergency services. One study found that veterans are 11 times more likely to have reduced suicidal urgency at the end of a call. Well, Trump fired crisis line workers, and his VA secretary has publicly argued that we spend too much money on suicide prevention. That's how we're thanking vets for their service. Max Rose is still with us. Max, you served on the Veterans Affairs Committee in Congress. I understand that you also fought to create a universal suicide prevention lifeline. What goes through your head when you hear some of those statistics?
That they've been lying. That what this was all about in the end was just politics, right? That what veterans to MAGA are basically like someone you're going to lie to for a couple of weeks before an election. Oh, thank you for your service. And then you just screw them over. And they started doing that right at the beginning with DOGE, right? Where everyone they fired were veterans. And then they cut the VA. And then you look at what's happening with this war in Iran right now, because that's a cost of war. All of these injured veterans that they are creating, and in this irresponsible march to war, where they didn't think about what could go wrong. They didn't think about how all our bases could get bombed. They didn't think about how our munitions could possibly run out. They didn't think about how we would, try to address all of these low-cost drones that Iran had. They didn't think about how Russia would be helping Iran. All these things that are happening right now that we are going to be dealing with the consequences of for decades to come. In the year 2055, veterans will walk into VA hospitals and they will be complaining of headaches, they will be complaining of back pain and shoulder pain and knee pain, and God forbid, things even worse that are a consequence of the conflicts we have seen over the last 2 weeks. We'll be paying for this for decades to come. If we're lucky, we'll be paying for it. If we follow their policies, veterans will have nowhere to even go.
What is the version of the VA that you would like to see? Because it's an institution or a department that's really kind of struggled both ways. In some ways, it's been bloated and so bureaucratic that it hasn't been able to function efficiently to provide the care that our veterans deserve. And now we have a president who's gutting it, thinking he's saving a penny, and they're unable to provide the services and care that our veterans deserve. What do you envision as being an effective?
Well, first of all, it begs the question, why not just give them all, like, really good health insurance, right? Like, there are people that are suggesting that. They're often Republicans who are like, let's just privatize the whole thing, demolish all the VAs. I'll tell you why that's so bad. It's bad because these institutions are not just places where you go to get a normal medical procedure. They are sanctuaries for veterans, where at every single step of the way, they understand the unique experiences and hardships that veterans have gone through. This isn't just like a policy to me. I've been that patient. I've walked into a VA, and I've felt like this immediate kind of, it's almost like a safe space where you know that people understand what you've been through. So that's point number one. But if we are going to make that commitment, we have to make it in a real and robust way, which means that we can't have 30-day, 40-day, 60-day wait times. And it also means that these should be institutions that have better customer service than anywhere else that we're going to go to. And Democrats have been guilty of this in the past. They said, oh, I'll be there for veterans, I'll defend the VA, and then you see these like horrific things happen at VAs where people commit suicide in a parking lot, or they can't go with treatment and then they die as a consequence. So if we're going to make this investment, we have to really do it in a robust way.
Are there any voices in Congress right now that you think are really fighting on behalf of veterans? Someone who you think, can actually lead the way forward to something better?
Yeah, look, I think Seth Moulton has been a phenomenal voice for veterans. He has really led the way on the crisis hotline. But this is a guy that saw real combat in Iraq. And we have many veterans, and all of them are fantastic. Not all of them saw the level of combat that someone like Seth Moulton saw. And I think that part of his congressional service thereafter has been trying to pay it forward, because he understands what that trauma can feel like. Alongside that, though, we got a lot of Republican veterans who claim that they're pro-vet, but then all they do is try to cut the VA. Mm.
Max Rose, thank you as always.
Yep.
Great to have you.
Let us know how we can keep a spotlight on it.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thank you.